9 years engaged, a tech public company with a market value of hundreds of billions, he sure refused to give me a proper status at the new product launch. In front of tens of millions of viewers online, he took the hand of his assistant Mo Wana and officially announced her as the brand's global ambassador. That day I signed the breakup papers, withdrew all my investments and took my technology and team abroad. He smiled and said I would regret it, not knowing that what I held in my hand was a trump card that could send him straight to hell. At the main venue of Xingtu Technologies' new product launch, the spotlights were blinding, the seats filled with journalists, industry giants, and distributors, and the online audience had already passed 20 million. I stood behind the curtain, clutching that velvet box. It held the cufflinks I had prepared in advance, engraved with Heisha's name. Today was our 9th engagement anniversary, 9 years from 22 to 31. I accompanied Heisha as he grew from a tiny studio that couldn't even pay rent into a publicly listed company worth hundreds of billions. Xingtu Technologies' first viable smartphone chip was designed from an architecture I sketched after more than 300 sleepless nights. I pulled him through 3 near-bankruptcy crises with my life savings, even mortgaging the house my parents left me. The core patents for the smart card chip he now prides himself on bear my name as the owner. Everyone knew I was the woman behind Heisha, the invisible technical core of Xingtu Technology, but only I knew that after 9 years engaged he still wouldn't give me a wedding, still wouldn't grant me the legal status of his wife. Whenever I raised it, he always said, after the company reaches the next level or after this product launch succeeds, and 9 years passed. Today, the global debut of his new flagship phone and smart car, an event he had prepared for an entire year, also happened to be our 9th engagement anniversary. I stood behind the curtain, watching Heisha on stage. He wore a bespoke suit, confident and charismatic, speaking to the cameras about Xingtu Technologies' future and the product's core features. Yet he never once mentioned me. Finally, he finished describing all the product specifications, and thunderous applause rose from the audience. The host smiled and came on stage holding the microphone. Thank you, Mr. He, for that wonderful presentation. Next, we have a major surprise to reveal. Please welcome Xingtu Technologies' global brand ambassador, Ms. Mo Wana, to the stage. The spotlight immediately hit the stage entrance. Mo Wana walked out in a couture gown and high heels, smiling. She'd been Heisha's personal assistant for only 6 months, young and beautiful, always calling him Mr. He, and I had long seen the thoughts in her eyes. I thought at most Heisha was just having a fling. After all, 9 years of love were here, but the next second all the blood in my body went cold. Heisha smiled and reached for Mo Wana's hand, pulling her close and speaking to the cameras with a doting tone. Welcome Wana as Xingtu Technologies' global brand ambassador. In the future, Xingtu will go further together with Wana. The hall erupted, cameras flashed madly, and the live chat was flooded with comments. Behind the curtain, the velvet box in my hand fell to the floor with a click, the cufflinks tumbling out and hitting the cold ground. 9 years of companionship, 9 years of sacrifice. At the moment he took another woman's hand and stood on the stage in front of millions, it became a complete and utter joke. I turned and walked into the backstage VIP lounge, sat on the sofa, and waited for him. Half an hour later the press conference ended. Heisha pushed open the lounge door and walked in, followed by Mo Wana. He saw me sitting on the sofa, paused for a moment, then frowned, his tone impatient. Why are you here? Aren't you going to the celebration banquet? What are you doing sitting here? I said nothing, lifting my eyes to look at Mo Wana beside him. She was sitting on the lounge desk, swinging her legs, wearing a diamond ring on her finger the size of a pigeon egg, the same style I had picked out 6 months ago. I had told Heisha it was the engagement ring I wanted. He had said, wait a little longer. So it wasn't wait a little longer, he had bought it and given it to someone else. When Mo Wana saw me staring at her hand, she didn't hide it. Instead she deliberately swung it and coquettishly said to Heisha, President He, look. Miss Jiang seems unhappy. Heisha didn't even look at the ring, he just came over and looked down at me. Jiangyu, what are you sulking about now? Wana is just the company's spokesperson, don't make a fuss over nothing. I looked at him and finally spoke, my voice so calm I surprised even myself. Making a fuss over nothing, Heisha, Today is our 9th engagement anniversary. In front of tens of millions of people online, you held another woman's hand and gave her the ring I wanted. You tell me this is making a fuss over nothing. He snorted, leaned against the desk, lit a cigarette, blew a ring of smoke, his tone full of indifference and a trace of mockery. She's just an assistant, it's just a ring. Do you need to make such a big deal? You've waited 9 years already. Is this such a big difference, Jiang Yu? Don't make a fool of yourself. In that moment, my heart died completely. 9 years of devotion, 9 years of waiting, reduced to a single "don't make a fool of yourself." I took a document out of my bag and placed it on the coffee table in front of him. It was the disengagement agreement. I had already signed my name and pressed my fingerprint. He glanced down at the words on the document, his smile instantly frozen. He snuffed out his cigarette abruptly, picked up the papers and looked at me, his eyes full of disbelief. Jiang Yu, what do you mean? You want to break our engagement? Yes, I looked into his eyes, speaking each word with crystal clarity. Our engagement ends here from today on. You and I owe each other nothing. He seemed to hear the most ridiculous joke and suddenly burst into laughter, laughing so hard he rocked backward and forward, his gaze on me filled with certain arrogance. Jiang Yu, stop kidding. Without me, without Xingtu Technology, you're nothing. Do you think without the platform I gave you, where would your chip designs be used? You'll regret this. I looked at him and smiled. The one who will regret it will never be me. I stood up and headed for the lounge door. At the doorway I stopped and glanced back at him. Oh right, I forgot to tell you, I am terminating all patent licenses I granted to Xingtu Tech, effective today. Take care of yourself. After saying that, I opened the door and left without looking back. Behind me came Heisha's furious roar and the sound of documents being slammed to the floor. I didn't look back. The 9 years of our relationship died the moment he took Mo Wanna's hand, and he doesn't know this is only the beginning. What he owes me, I will take back piece by piece. Principal and interest. When I left the press conference, my assistant and the core member of my Randi team, Lin Shi, was already waiting in the car at the entrance. Seeing me come out, she immediately opened the door and looked at me with concern written all over her face. Sister Yu, are you okay? We watched the live stream of the press conference. He sure is despicable. I climbed into the car and shut the door, shutting out all the noise outside. I'm fine. I looked at Lin Shi and said, notify everyone on the Randi team and all hands meeting at 8 tonight at my private Randi center. Attendance is mandatory. There's something important to announce. Lin Shi froze for a moment, then her eyes lit up. Okay, Sister Yu, I'll notify them right away. The car drove straight toward my private Randi center. This Randi center was built with my own money. All core Randi work is done here, and the origin of all the chip technologies used by Xingtu Tech lies here. Heisha always thought this center served Xingtu Tech, not knowing that every piece of equipment, every patent, every Randi result here is registered in my name. At 8 o'clock in the evening, the conference room at the Randi Center was packed. The 18 people on the development team were all trained by me. The shortest time anyone had worked with me was 5 years. The longest 8. All of Xingtu Technology's core chips were painstakingly developed by us together. When they saw me walk in, everyone stood up and looked at me with eyes full of indignation and grievance. Sister Yu, Heisha went too far. He wouldn't be where he is today without you. Sister Yu, we all follow you. Whatever you say, we'll do. I sat in the head seat, looked at them and spoke. I called you all here for only one thing. I have broken off the engagement with Heisha. From today on, I have no further relationship with Xingtu Technology. All patent authorizations I granted to Xingtu Technology have been terminated. Now, I ask you all, those willing to come with me are welcome. If you want to stay at Xingtu, I won't stop you. Your salaries and compensation will not be reduced by a single cent. No sooner had I finished speaking than the team's technical director, Old Chen, spoke up firmly. Sister Yu, we've always followed you. Without you, we wouldn't be where we are today. What is Xingtu Tech? Wherever you go, we'll go. Right, Sister Yu, we're with you. He sure is that ungrateful bastard. We've never stood him. We'll follow you and start over. In the conference room, all 18 people, not one hesitated. They all chose to follow me. I looked at them, warmth welling in my chest, and nodded. Good. Thank you all for your trust. From today on, we won't work for Xingtu, we work for ourselves. Now everyone, pack up your office items and Randi materials immediately. Within 2 hours, Everyone must move out of Xingtou Tech's office area and all core data must be backed up and taken with you. Understood. Everyone sprang into action and rushed overnight to Xingtou Tech headquarters to pack their things. As for me, I sat in my office and called my lawyer. The phone rang twice before it was answered. Miss Jiang, calling so late, is something wrong? Lawyer Zhong, I need you to do two things first. Send an official lawyer's letter to Xingtou Tech immediately to terminate the exclusive authorization of all 12 patents under my name, demanding they cease all use at once, or we will file an infringement lawsuit. Second, initiate legal procedures to withdraw my entire angel investment in Xingtou Tech, totaling 127 billion yuan, and freeze all shares I pledged to Xingtou Tech. Lawyer Zhong paused, then spoke at once. Okay, Miss Jiang, I'll take care of it right now and ensure the lawyer's letter is delivered to Xingtou Tech first thing tomorrow morning. Thank you for your hard work. After hanging up, I leaned back in my office chair and stared at the night view beyond the window. Sure, you think I'm just throwing a tantrum and asking to break the engagement? You're far too naive. Xingtou Tech's foundation is my patented technology, my investment, and the R&D team I brought up. Now I'm taking it all back. I want to see how long Xingtou Tech can last without me. Early the next morning in the CEO's office at Xingtou Tech headquarters, Heisha had just arrived at the company and still hadn't recovered from his rage the night before when his executive assistant burst in, pale and flustered. President it's bad, a major problem. Heisha frowned, impatient. What's the fuss? Has the sky fallen? President we received a lawyer's letter from Miss Jiang. She has terminated the authorization of all 12 core patents and demanded we stop using them immediately, or she'll sue us for infringement. Also, the bank sent a notice through her law firm. Miss Jiang is withdrawing her entire 127 billion yuan angel investment and has applied to the court for asset preservation. Our company's basic account has been frozen. The coffee cup in Heisha's hand clattered to the floor, coffee soaking his trousers. He shot to his feet and stared at his assistant in disbelief. What did you say? She's crazy. She'd really do that. It's true, President the lawyer's letter is right here, and the R&D department reports that the entire core R&D team, 18 people in total, including technical director Old Chen, have all resigned. They packed up overnight and left. Not a single person remained. Heisha swayed and collapsed back into his chair, his mind blank. Terminated patent authorizations, the core R&D team all gone, company accounts frozen, 127 billion in investment being pulled. Each of those blows struck at Xingtou Tech's lifeblood. He finally realized Jiang Yu wasn't having a tantrum. She was truly out to ruin him and destroy Xingtou Tech. He grabbed his phone as if insane and dialed my number. The number you have dialed is switched off. He tried a WeChat call and found he'd been blocked by me. He had his assistant call, but they couldn't get through either. Shimo suddenly smashed his phone hard onto the ground and it shattered instantly. His eyes were red as he screamed, Jiang Yu, you crazy woman, just you wait, I won't let this go. Meanwhile I was in the private R&D center, looking at all the research materials the team had organized and listening to the progress report from lawyer Zhong. Lin Shi looked at me and smiled. Sister Yu, Shimo must have gone mad by now. He never dreamed you'd pull the rug out from under him and strip him of his entire fortune. I looked at the patent certificate on the computer screen and smiled. This is only the beginning. What he owes me I'll take back bit by bit, everything. I lifted my eyes and looked at Lin Shi. Book 2 tickets to Singapore for this afternoon. I'll go with you. The rest of the people will take the materials in batches and head to Singapore one after another. Lin Shi was stunned for a moment, then realized, Sister Yu, you mean start a new company in Singapore? Yes, I nodded. In China's semiconductor industry Shimo still has some clout. He'll surely try every means to suppress us. Singapore is a global center of the semiconductor industry. If we go there, we'll have much more room to grow and can completely avoid his harassment. Okay, Sister Yu, I'll book the tickets and arrange the visas right now. I leaned back in my chair and looked out the window. Shimo, you said I was nothing without you. Then I'll show you how high I can stand and how far I can go without you, and you will only shatter to pieces. At 2 in the afternoon, Lin Shi and I rushed to Pudong International Airport. As soon as we entered the terminal, lawyer Zhong's call came through, his tone edged with anxiety. Miss Jiang, it's bad. Hishimo has filed a lawsuit in court accusing you of misappropriating trade secrets and applied for an exit restriction order. The court has accepted the case and will issue a notice soon. You may not be able to leave. I held the phone, my voice calm. I know, Lawyer Zhong, it's fine. I'm already at the airport. The flight leaves in an hour. His restriction order won't be issued that quickly. But Miss Jiang, what if there is no what if? I said. Hishimo's lawsuit has no substantive evidence at all. Even if the court accepts it, they won't immediately issue an exit restriction. Don't worry, handle the domestic litigation for me and I'll contact you once I'm in Singapore. Understood, Miss Jiang, stay safe. After hanging up, Lin Shi looked at me with a worried face. Sister Yu, Hishimo actually sued us for misappropriating trade secrets and wants to stop us from leaving the country. He's got no shame. I smiled, pulled my suitcase and walked toward the security checkpoint. That's all he can do, a jumping clown, don't pay him any mind. I passed security without trouble and boarded the flight to Singapore. As the plane took off, I watched the city skyline shrink beneath me and felt not a trace of longing. This city held 9 years of my youth, 9 years of effort, and also 9 years of betrayal and hurt. From the moment the plane left the ground, the old Jiangyu was dead. From now on, I will live only for myself. 10 hours later, the plane landed at Singapore Changi Airport. After exiting the airport, staff from the local law firm I had contacted in advance were already waiting at the entrance and took us straight to the office building we had rented. The building sits in Singapore's central business district, next to the headquarters of Temasek Holdings, surrounded by the world's leading semiconductor companies. I stood by the floor-to-ceiling window, watched the traffic below and took a deep breath. From today, this will be my new starting point. Over the next 3 days, I and my team completed the registration of the new company. Yushin Technology was officially established in Singapore, with me serving as chairwoman and chief technology officer. On the day the company was founded, I issued an announcement through official channels declaring that Yushin Technology was launching an R&D project for a 2nm chip architecture and was opening global recruitment. The announcement immediately sent shockwaves through the global semiconductor industry. After all, a 2nm chip architecture is the most advanced technology in the global semiconductor field. Only TSMC and Samsung had just achieved mass production, while domestic companies were still at the 7nm stage. By releasing this announcement, I wanted to tell the entire industry that I, Jiangyu, even after leaving Heshe and Xingtu Technology, am still the top-tier researcher in this field. The news soon made its way back home and reached Heshe's ears. That very night, my overseas phone number received a text from an unknown number. It was Heshe. Jiangyu, well done, you actually ran off to Singapore to start a company. Let me tell you, don't think that going abroad makes you untouchable. I've already warned every company in the global semiconductor industry. No one dares to work with you, no one dares to invest in you. I'm going to make sure you can't survive in the global semiconductor industry. Come back now and apologize to me and I might forgive you, otherwise you'll die a very ugly death. I looked at the text message, smiled and replied with 2 words, I'll wait. Then I blocked that number. Lin Shi looked at me, furious. He sure is way too arrogant. Does he really think he can conquer the world alone, shut down globally, as if he has the right? I put down my phone, looked at Lin Shi and said, if he wants to blackball me, we'll see if he has the ability. In this industry, it ultimately comes down to technology, not who has the loudest voice or the biggest backing. The more he tries to blackball me, the more I have to deliver results and slap him in the face. I opened my laptop and pulled up the official website for the Singapore Global Semiconductor Industry Summit, the highest-level semiconductor summit in Southeast Asia, taking place in 2 weeks with the world's top semiconductor companies and experts invited. I sent an email to the summit organizers attaching my CV and the preliminary simulation data for my newly developed 2nm chip architecture, applying to be a special guest and give a talk at the summit. The day after I sent the email, I received a reply from the organizers formally inviting me to give a keynote address at the summit, granting me the maximum 40-minute slot. Lin Shi looked at the invitation and jumped up with excitement. Sister Yu, that's amazing, we got a speaking slot at the summit. This is the top global semiconductor summit. The world's leading companies and capital will all be there. I looked at the invitation and a smile tugged at my lips. Heshe, Wanted to blackball me worldwide, then I'll show him on the industry's biggest stage whether he has the ability. 2 weeks flew by in an instant. The Singapore Global Semiconductor Industry Summit was officially held at the Marina Bay Sands Convention Center. The venue was packed with thousands of global semiconductor experts, executives, and investors. I sat in the guest section surrounded by titans of the industry. Everyone greeted me warmly, their eyes full of appreciation. In a corner of the hall sat people sent by He Shi, holding up their phones to livestream to him. He Shi had already been whispering to major capital and companies at the venue, smearing me as an industrial spy who stole Xingtou Technologies tech, telling everyone not to cooperate with or invest in me. He was waiting for me to make a fool of myself at the summit, for no one to pay attention, for the industry to shun me. Before long it was my turn to go. On stage, the host took the mic and smiled. Next, please welcome with a warm round of applause Ms. Jiang Yu, Chairman and CTO of Yushun Technology, a leading domestic chip architecture expert. For the keynote address, thunderous applause filled the hall. I stood, straightened my suit, grabbed the microphone, and walked on stage. Standing there looking out at thousands of eyes and countless cameras, I drew a deep breath and began. Distinguished seniors and colleagues, hello, I'm Jiang Yu from Yushun Technology. Today my presentation is titled Independent R&D and Technical Breakthroughs in 2nm Chip Architecture. For the next 40 minutes I spoke without notes, detailing the core technologies, design logic, simulation data, and performance advantages of my 2nm chip architecture. This architecture not only improves performance by 35% over TSMC's current 2nm chips and reduces power consumption by 40%, but also solves the industry-long unsolved quantum tunneling effect problem. I demonstrated the chip simulation test data live. Each figure astonished the audience, experts, and executives in the audience straightened in their seats, their initial scrutiny turning to shock and ultimately to complete admiration. When my talk ended, I bowed to the audience. That concludes my presentation, thank you. The hall erupted in thunderous applause that lasted a full minute, nearly lifting the roof. As soon as I stepped off stage, I was swarmed by investors. Ms. Jiang, I'm a partner at Sequoia Capital. We're very bullish on your technology and want to talk about series of funding. Ms. Jiang, we are Hillhouse Capital. We are willing to value your company at 30 billion and invest 5 billion. Mr. Jiang, we are Temasek Holdings. We'd like to speak with you privately. We can provide global supply chain resources. Countless olive branches were laid before me in the corner of the venue. The people He Shi sent watched the scene with ashen faces, their hands holding phones trembled. On the other end of the line, He Shi heard the warm applause and investors scrambling at the venue. Trembling with rage, he hurled his phone to the ground, smashing everything in his office to pieces. He never expected that his painstakingly organized global blacklist would not ruin my reputation but instead make me famous on the global industry stage with a single fight. 3 days later, I formally reached a cooperation agreement with Temasek Holdings. Temasek invested 5 billion renminbi in Yushun Technology. After the Series A financing, the company was valued at 30 billion RMB. At the same time, Temasek provided me with the entire global semiconductor industry chain resources, from wafer foundry and packaging and testing to downstream customer cooperation, fully opening the channels. Once the news broke, the global semiconductor industry was shaken again. He Shi's blacklist became a complete joke. I sat in the Singapore office, looking at the text confirming the transferred funds, a smile tugging at the corner of my mouth. He Shi, you said I would regret it. Now look who's regretting it. The game has only just begun. Next I will make you watch with your own eyes how the StarPath technology you prided yourself on collapses step by step. The financing signing ceremony with Temasek was held at Marina Bay Sands in Singapore. Major global financial media and semiconductor trade press all attended. Camera flashes never ceased. At the ceremony, Lu Xian, Temasek Holdings Global Head of Investments, took the microphone and smiled as he addressed the media. We at Temasek have great confidence in Ms. Jiang Yu's technical capabilities and in the future of Yushun Technology. We believe that under Ms. Jiang's leadership, Yushun Technology will become a global leader in the semiconductor industry. We will not only provide financial support but also fully open our global industrial chain resources to wholeheartedly support Yushin Technologies' development. After speaking, he turned to me and extended his hand. I smiled and shook it, then addressed all the media. Thank you to Temasek for its trust and support. Yushin Technology will always adhere to independent R&D, let technology speak, break foreign technological monopolies, and contribute to the development of the global semiconductor industry. The signing ceremony concluded successfully, and reports from major media outlets spread worldwide in an instant. Jiangyu Temasek 5B financing Yushin Tech 2 NM chip. These two tags not only topped overseas financial headlines but also surged to the top of domestic Weibo trending lists. Domestic netizens instantly erupted. Oh my god, Ms. Jiang is incredible. After being betrayed by a jerk, she went abroad and secured 5 billion from Temasek. This is a true heroine. Without Ms. Jiang, Starpath Technology is an empty shell. That ungrateful Hisha must be full of regret now. People even spread rumors that Ms. Jiang stole trade secrets. What a joke, she's a tech powerhouse, why would she need to steal? Hisha is the one living off a woman. At this moment at Xingtu Technology headquarters, Hisha sat in his office looking at news online and the photo of me shaking hands with Lu Zian, his eyes reddening with anger. His executive assistant stood beside him, not daring to breathe. Hisha suddenly swept the computer off the desk to the floor and hissed through clenched teeth. Jiangyu, you bitch, how dare you cooperate with Temasek? I won't let you succeed, never. He picked up his phone and called all the major domestic semiconductor companies and foundries, declaring that anyone who dared cooperate with Yushin Technology would be opposing him, Hisha and Xingtu Technology. But this time, no one listened to him. After all, Xingtu Technology was already on shaky ground. While I held the core technology for 2 nanometers chips and had Temasek's backing, the company's future was limitless. No one would offend a nearly bankrupt Xingtu Technology and risk alienating a future industry giant. After calling around, not only did no one agree with him, several longtime partners announced they were terminating cooperation with Xingtu Technology. Hisha was completely stunned. He finally realized he was no longer the chairman of a listed company with a market value in the hundreds of billions like he once was. Without my technology and without the core R&D team, Xingtu Technology had become an empty shell. No one feared him anymore. At this time I was in the Singapore office, in a meeting with Lu Zian discussing the company's next development plans. Lu Zian looked at me and smiled. CEO Jiang, Hisha has been making noise domestically trying to blacklist you, but no one is paying attention. Instead he has alienated all his partners. Xingtu Technology is now at its last gasp. I smiled, took a sip of coffee and said, that's all he's capable of, a barking clown, no need to worry about him. Our priority now is to complete the tape-out testing of the 2 nanometers chip as soon as possible and achieve mass production. Lu Zian nodded, looked at me, admiration in his eyes. President Jiang, to be honest, I really admire you. After such a huge setback, not only did you not collapse, you managed to get back up in such a short time, secure financing, and determine the technical direction. Very few people can do what you did. I looked at him and smiled. There's nothing to admire, people have to live for themselves. You can't stop moving forward just because someone else betrayed you. Besides, the technology one hold is something I developed through countless sleepless nights. I can't let it be buried because of a scumbag. There was something different in Lu Zian's gaze as he looked at me. He paused, then said, President Jiang, Hisha certainly won't let this go. He's vindictive. Now that he's been driven into a corner, he'll resort to even more despicable means. Don't worry, Temasek will do everything to protect your safety and the security of the company's technology. Thank you, President Lu. I looked at him and spoke sincerely. Since arriving in Singapore, Lu Zian had given me a lot of help, not just funding but resources, connections and security. He had considered everything carefully. I was well aware that his feelings toward me went beyond business, but for now all my focus was on the company's R&D and on retaliating against Hisha. I had no energy for anything else. After the meeting, Lin Shi walked into my office carrying her laptop, excitement written all over her face. Sister Yu, good news, Hisha's Xingtu Technology is holding a product launch. Next Friday streamed online across the whole network. They're releasing their new flagship phone and smart car. I paused for a moment, then smiled. Oh, he still dares to hold a launch. I already revoked the license for his chip patents without my technology. What does he have to launch? I checked. Lin, she said. The chip they're using for this release is still the one we developed before. They just tweaked some parameters and are presenting it as a new chip. He sure is completely throwing caution to the wind. He's hoping to salvage some reputation and attract investment with this launch. Otherwise the company really won't survive. I leaned back in my chair, tapped the desk with my fingertips and smiled. Fine, he wants to hold a launch. I'll give him a big gift. Lin, she's eyes lit up as she looked at me. Sister Yu, what do you want to do? He wants to use my technology for his product launch, doesn't he? I said with a smile. Then at his launch, in front of the entire online audience, I'll expose his infringement. I'll turn his launch into his social death scene, into the funeral for Xingtu Technology. Lin, she pumped up with excitement. Yes, Sister Yu, let's do it. Give Heisha a crushing slap. I stared at the promotional poster for Xingtu Technology's product launch on the laptop screen, my expression cooling. Heisha, you stole my technology without my permission and now boldly hold a launch. I'll show you what it means to lift a rock only to drop it on your own foot. At next Friday's launch, I'll make you see what it costs to offend me. Jiang Yu. At 8 p.m. on Friday, Xingtu Technology's next-generation flagship product launch was streamed live across the entire internet on schedule. Heisha spent over 10 million on promotion for this launch. All the major streaming platforms featured it on their homepages, and the pre-show view count in the chat room exceeded 5 million. He planned to use this event to stage a comeback, restore Xingtu Technology's reputation, attract new investment, and weather the current crisis. As soon as the launch began, Heisha strode onto the stage in a suit, brimming with confidence, speaking animatedly to the camera about Xingtu Technology's brand philosophy and the new product's design concept, never once mentioning the previous patent dispute and never once mentioning me. There were many paid posters in the live chat, constantly flooding the comments. President, he is so handsome. Go Xingtu Technology. Finally, the new product launch. Xingtu's chips are always the strongest domestically. Support President, he support domestic products. Those who say Xingtu infringed are just haters. At that moment I was sitting in the Singapore office watching the live stream with Lin Shi and the whole Randi team beside me and my legal team. Lin Shi watched Heisha's triumphant look in the live stream and was furious. You Jia, look at him using your technology and bragging here with no shame, so shameless. I smiled, said nothing and just watched the stream. Soon the press conference reached its core segment, the chip performance presentation. Heisha held the microphone, faced the camera and spoke proudly. Next is the most important upgrade of our new product, our all-new StarPath No. 1 chip. This chip was completely independently developed by our StarPath Technology Randi team. Adopts a brand new architecture design, with performance improved by 40% and power consumption reduced by 35% compared to the previous generation. It's currently the most powerful smartphone chip in the world. Instantly the chat erupted with paid fans cheering and the barrage flew by. Heisha stood on stage, growing more and more pleased with himself as he detailed the chip's various specs, taking all the credit for himself and StarPath Technology's Randi team. Just as he was getting most excited, my account parachuted into the live stream. I requested to join the audio, and before the stream moderators had time to react, they hit accept. In an instant my face appeared on the live stream's big screen. In front of tens of millions of viewers across the web, the whole venue went silent. Heisha on stage looked at me on the screen. His smile froze, his eyes full of shock and panic. The barrage in the chat stopped for 2 seconds, then blew up completely. Holy, it's Jiang Yu. President Jiang actually joined the audio. No way, the showdown is on, the main party is here. I want to see how Heisha brags now. It's happening, the comeuppance scene. First row sell sunflower seeds and drinks and bottled water. Heisha snapped back to reality and immediately shouted at his staff, who let her join the audio. Turn it off now. But it was too late. I held the microphone, looked at Heisha on the screen, and my voice carried clearly through the live stream to the ears of tens of millions. President, he Don't rush to cut the audio. I just want to ask you, you just said this StarPath No. 1 chip was completely independently developed by StarPath Technology. Heish's face flushed and paled. He forced calm for the camera and said, Jiang Yu, have you had enough of causing trouble? This is StarPath Technology's product launch, not a place for you to make a scene. Make a scene. I smiled and said, President I only want to clarify a fact to you and to all the viewers online. The core architecture of the StarPath No. 1 chip you're announcing now was designed by me in 2021. 12 core technology patents are all in my name. A month ago I already sent StarPath Technology a lawyer's letter terminating all patent authorizations. I paused, looked into the camera and spoke each word. That means the chip StarPath Technology is releasing now has not been authorized by me in any way and already constitutes serious patent infringement. I hereby officially announce to the whole internet that I will immediately file an infringement lawsuit with the Beijing Intellectual Property Court, demanding StarPath Technology immediately cease all infringing activities and compensate me for all my economic losses. No sooner had I finished than the live stream exploded, the barrage raced by and viewer count shot from 5 million to 100 million. Heisha stood on stage trembling, yelling into the camera, "You're talking nonsense. This chip was developed by us independently. Jiang Yu, you're deliberately smearing StarPath Technology. This is malicious defamation." Malicious defamation. I smiled and raised my hand. Lin Shi immediately cast the evidence I had prepared onto the livestream screen. First was the patent certificates, 12 core patents, and the patent holder clearly had my name on them. The earliest application was in 2019, the latest in 2022, all before Xingtu Technology was founded or before the chip was released. Then there was the termination letter I sent to Xingtu Technology for patent authorization, along with a lawyer's letter, both bearing clear dates and official seals. Finally, there was a comparison of the chip source code, the core source code of the Xingtu No. 1 chip and the source code I had designed back then matched 98%. Even the watermark I'd left in the code was identical. The evidence was ironclad, leaving no room for any excuse. I looked at Heisha, whose face on the screen had gone deathly pale, and said, "Mr. He, do you still dare to claim this chip was developed by your team?" The whole room fell silent. Heisha stood on the stage, opened his mouth, couldn't get a word out, swayed and almost fell. The live stream exploded. "Holy shit, it's proven. It really is infringement. Heisha is shameless, using Mr. Jiang's patents and kicking him out, and now claiming independent development. Ha ha ha, just now he was bragging like crazy. Turns out he stole the tech. His face must be swollen from the slap. What national pride. He's clearly a thief. Boycott Xingtu Technology forever. I'll never buy their products again. Refund. I just pre-ordered the new product. Cancel it now. Who'd buy something that infringes like this?" Negative comments inundated the screen instantly. E-commerce platforms operators, seeing the live stream, panicked and immediately pulled Xingtu Technology's new product, closing pre-orders. In 10 minutes all pre-order orders across the web were cancelled, not a single one left. The launch event descended into chaos. Reporters in the audience surged forward like mad, crowding Heisha with questions. "Mr. He, is what Mr. Jiang said true? Did Xingtu's chip infringe? Mr. He, you previously claimed the chip was independently developed. Were you deceiving consumers? Mr. He, what penalties will Xingtu Technology face? Will you give consumers an explanation?" Surrounded by the crowd, Heisha's face was ashen. He couldn't speak and was finally escorted away by bodyguards in a humiliating exit. The much-anticipated product launch was only half complete before it utterly collapsed and was forced to stop. The live stream viewership surged past 120 million, and #Xingtu Tech infringement, #Heisha launch collapse, #Jiangyu exposes fraud instantly shot to the top of the trending list, followed by glaring breaking labels. The whole internet was condemning Heisha and Xingtu Technology, accusing him of ingratitude, of infringement, and deceiving consumers. That night Xingtu Technology's US pre-market stock plunged 30%, wiping out tens of billions in market value overnight. The Domestic Consumer Association issued an announcement launching an investigation into Xingtu Technology for suspected false advertising and consumer deception. I turned off the live stream, leaned back in my office chair watching my team cheer. a smile at the corner of my mouth. Lin, she hugged me excitedly, hopping and saying, "Sister you, that was so satisfying." Heisha's face is totally wrecked. This launch was basically his funeral. I smiled and said, "This is only the first slap in the face. He still owes me a lot." I picked up my phone and called my lawyer. "Lawyer Zhong, prepare all the infringement evidence. File suit first thing tomorrow morning and demand Xingtu Technology compensate for 1.86 billion in economic losses." "Yes, Ms. Jiang, I'll prepare it right away." After hanging up, I looked out at Singapore's night view, my expression turning cold. "Heisha, you think stealing my technology will let you turn the tables? How naive. What I can give you, I can take back with my own hands. There are more surprises coming for you." After the new product launch collapsed, Xingtu Technology plunged into utter desperation. Nationwide boycotts, consumer complaints, association investigations, and a plummeting stock price took this company, once worth hundreds of billions, to the brink of a cliff overnight. Heisha was in a panic, having to deal with the torrent of negative online public opinion, soothe angry shareholders and dealers, and find a way to respond to my infringement lawsuit. But instead of backing down, he grew desperate and resorted to even more despicable means. The day after I filed the infringement suit in court, Heisha submitted an application to the Patent Re-examination Board of the National Intellectual Property Administration, asking for the invalidation of the 7 core chip patents under my name. In his application he lied, claiming he was a co-developer of these patents, that he, along with Xingtu Technology's R&D team, developed them and I merely put my name on them. Not only that, he also filed a lawsuit with the Beijing Intellectual Property Court, asking the court to confirm he was a co-owner of the patents and demanding I compensate him for economic losses. By these despicable tactics he hoped to seize my patents, turn black into white, and nail me with the stigma of stealing trade secrets. When the news broke, a wave of coordinated marketing accounts immediately appeared online, using Heisha's forged evidence to spread rumors that I stole Xingtu Technology's R&D results and was ungrateful. Lin, she trembled with anger as she read the online lies. "Yujie, Heisha is so shameless. How dare he bite back like this, claim the patents are his? Who does he think he is?" I looked over the litigation materials Heisha had submitted and smiled, not the least bit flustered. "He thinks he can steal my patents by forging a few fake R&D records. How naive. These patents were drawn stroke by stroke, written line by line of code. I have complete records of the entire R&D process. If he wants to take them, he'll have to see if he has the skill to do it." I looked at Lawyer Zhong and spoke. "Lawyer Zhong, get all the evidence ready. We will defend the case. Not only must we have all his claims dismissed, but he should also pay for his act of fabricating evidence." Lawyer Zhong nodded. "Don't worry, President Jiang, I've already prepared everything. At the hearing in 3 days, we will definitely win." 3 days later, the Beijing Intellectual Property Court held a public hearing on this patent ownership dispute. Because the case attracted so much attention, the entire trial was broadcast live online, with millions of viewers watching. In court, Heisha's lawyer produced a thick stack of R&D records and addressed the judge. "Your Honor, these are Xingtu Technology's R&D records, meeting minutes, and test reports related to the patents in question from 2019 to 2022, which are sufficient to prove that these patents were jointly developed by our client Heisha together with Xingtu Technology's R&D team." The defendant Jiang, you only participated in part of the R&D work but registered all the patents in her own name, seriously infringing on our client's lawful rights. We request that the court confirm our client as a co-owner of the patents in dispute and order the defendant to compensate our client for economic losses of 200 million yuan. The judge looked toward my side and said, "Defendant, do you have any defense against the plaintiff's claims?" I stood up, took the microphone, my voice clear and my tone calm. "Your Honor, I have 3 points of defense. First, all the R&D records submitted by the plaintiff are fabricated. Second, the 7 patents involved were all independently developed by me personally and have nothing to do with the plaintiff Heisha or Xingtu Technology. Third, the plaintiff fabricated evidence and initiated malicious litigation. I request that the court dismiss all of the plaintiff's claims and punish the plaintiff for fabricating evidence in accordance with the law." No sooner had I finished speaking than Heisha's lawyer immediately retorted, "You're lying. Our R&D records are Genuine, what evidence do you have that they're fabricated? I smiled and raised my hand. My assistant immediately brought a box of evidence into the courtroom and projected the electronic evidence onto the court's large screen. First, the RAND-D records submitted by the plaintiff are dated March 2019, but the document template used in those records is a version of Microsoft Office that wasn't updated until November 2020. That template didn't exist in 2019. That's the first point proving your records are forged. Second, the meeting minutes submitted by the plaintiff mention a chip architecture RAND-D meeting held in May 2020, and among the attendees listed is former StarPath Technology Technical Director Old Chen. But Old Chen didn't join StarPath until February 2021. He wasn't working at StarPath in May 2020, so how could he have attended your RAND-D meeting? Third, the chip test report submitted by the plaintiff used testing equipment that was only released by a domestic manufacturer in 2021. In 2019 and 2020 that device hadn't been released yet. How did you use a device that wasn't on the market to perform the tests? I pointed out each and every flaw in the evidence Hisha submitted, one by one, each supported by clear proof. The courtroom fell silent, and viewers in the livestream chat instantly went wild. What the hell, it's all forged. Hisha is unbelievable, submitting fake evidence in court. This is hilarious, presenting such riddled fake evidence and still filing a lawsuit. No shame at all. Boss Jiang is amazing, he found every single flaw, just crushed them. Hisha's lawyer's face flushed red and then white, unable to utter a word. Hisha, sitting in the plaintiff's seat, trembled uncontrollably, his face ashen. I paused briefly and continued, switching the content on the big screen. Next, I submit my evidence proving I am the sole owner of the patents in question. The big screen displayed a complete chain of evidence, starting in 2018, the first draft sketches of the chip architecture I drew, every subsequent revision, every line of source code record, each simulation test result, every patent application document, a complete timeline with a closed logical loop, crystal clear. Also included were papers I published during university about chip architecture design. The core theories in those papers are the foundation of the patents in dispute, and their publication predates Hisha's founding of StarPath Technology by a full 3 years. All of the above evidence proves that the 7 patents in dispute were entirely independently developed by me. The RAND-D process spanned my university years through the establishment of my personal RAND-D center. Hisha's StarPath Technology only obtained an exclusive license to my patents and did not participate in any RAND-D work, and could not possibly be a co-owner of the patents. I looked at the judge and spoke word by word. Hisha not only fabricated evidence and brought a malicious lawsuit, he also used my patent for commercial production without my authorization, seriously infringing my patent rights. I hereby file a counterclaim with the court, requesting that the court order the plaintiff Hisha and Xingtu Technology to immediately cease all infringing activities, compensate me for my economic losses in the amount of 1.86 billion yuan and bear all costs of this litigation. When I finished speaking, the courtroom fell silent again. The judge organized oral arguments from both sides. Hisha's lawyer could not produce any valid evidence to rebut the claims and could only offer feeble sophistry that was utterly unconvincing. At the end of the trial, the judge announced the verdict in court. After this court's examination, it is found that the evidence submitted by the plaintiff Hisha is all fabricated and is not accepted by this court. The 7 patents involved in the case were independently developed by the defendant Jiang Yu, and the patent rights belong personally to Jiang Yu. This court hereby rules all of the plaintiff Hisha's claims are dismissed. At the same time, the defendant Jiang Yu's counterclaim is upheld, ordering Xingtu Technology to immediately stop all infringing activities and to pay Jiang Yu economic damages of 1.86 billion yuan within 10 days from the effective date of this judgment. All case acceptance fees shall be borne by the plaintiff Hisha. Additionally, regarding the plaintiff Hisha's act of fabricating evidence and bringing a malicious lawsuit, this court will issue a separate punishment decision and impose penalties according to law. The gavel fell and the trial concluded. The live stream room instantly erupted in cheers. We won, President Jiang won, so satisfying, Hisha deserved it. fabricating evidence and bringing a malicious lawsuit. Not only did he lose the case, he now has to pay $186 billion. He's done for. The court really nailed him. Let's see what He Sure has to say now. A thief is a thief. He can never be the master. He Sure, sitting at the plaintiff's table, slumped into his chair and went pale the moment he heard the verdict. He never expected that his meticulously plotted malicious lawsuit would not only fail to seize my patent but would instead cost him $186 billion and, because of fabricating evidence, subject him to the court's punishment. The day after the trial ended, the Patent Re-examination Board of the China National Intellectual Property Administration also issued its decision. It rejected all of He Sure's applications and upheld the full validity of all 12 patents under my name. With that, I achieved a resounding victory in this patent battle. Not only did I completely reclaim everything that belonged to me, I also saddled He Sure and Xingtu Technology with a massive compensation debt of $186 billion yuan. Xingtu Technology's stock plunged again, already teetering on the brink of delisting. Lin Shi looked at the court judgment and said with a smile, "Yujie, we won, completely won. This time He Sure really can't recover." I looked at the judgment and smiled. It's not over. He not only stole my patents, he tried to ride on my technology to make a living in the industry. Next, I'm going to make sure he has no foothold left in the entire semiconductor industry. I picked up my phone and called the heads of TSMC and SMIC respectively. He Sure, you think losing the lawsuit is the end? No. This is only the beginning. I'm going to cut off all your escape routes, leave you completely without chips to use, and obliterate Xingtu Technology once and for all. After winning the patent litigation, He Sure and Xingtu Technology were completely trapped in a dead end. The $186 billion infringement compensation, the court's penalty ruling, and the boycott across the internet pushed Xingtu Technology's cash flow to the brink of collapse. But He Sure still wouldn't give up. He knew that without chips, Xingtu Technology's phone and car businesses would be finished. While dragging his feet on paying the compensation, he was also everywhere looking for new chip design firms, trying to redesign a chip to replace my patented technology. Meanwhile, he reached out to multiple domestic chip design companies, offering exorbitant sums to recruit experienced R&D teams, even contacting overseas design firms to buy ready-made chip architecture licenses. But after half a month of effort, he found it was impossible. No domestic chip design firm dared take his order. After all, I am now a top figure in the industry, holding the core technology for 2nm chips and backed by Temasek. No one would risk offending me for a star path technology that was on the brink of collapse. The overseas design firms quoted astronomical prices and clearly stated they could not, in the short term, produce a chip architecture that would replace my patented designs. With nowhere to turn, He Sure had to settle for a second-best option. He gave up on redeveloping chips and decided to find a third-party foundry to manufacture older chip models to weather the immediate crisis, and by time, he contacted several domestic wafer foundries to have them produce chips for StarPath Technology. What he didn't know was that I had already anticipated this move. At that time I was in Shanghai attending the Global Wafer Foundry Industry Summit. The summit brought together all the major global foundries, TSMC, SMIC, Samsung, UMC, each sending senior executives. I was the keynote speaker specially invited to this summit, and the only female chip architecture expert in attendance. On stage I presented my latest patented wafer manufacturing optimization technology to the senior executives of foundries worldwide. This technology can, by optimizing the match between chip design and wafer manufacturing processes, increase foundry yields by 20% while reducing manufacturing costs by 15%. It was a problem the global foundry industry had not solved in decades. When my speech ended, the hall erupted in thunderous applause that lasted a long time. After the summit, leaders from TSMC, SMIC, and all the major foundries approached me proactively, wanting deep cooperation and licensing for this optimization patent. I smiled, shook hands with them one by one, and spoke. Patent licensing cooperation is fine, but I have one prerequisite. The president of TSMC's China region immediately said, "Ms. Jiang, tell us your condition. If it's within our power, we'll do it." I looked at them and spoke deliberately, word by word. My condition is simple: any foundry granted a license to my patent must not provide any chip foundry services to StarPath Technology or any companies affiliated with He-Shur. StarPath's unauthorized use of my patented technology already constitutes a serious infringement. Any company that provides foundry services for them will bear joint liability for infringement. The heads of all foundries present nodded without hesitation and agreed at once. Ms. Jiang, rest assured we will never cooperate with StarPath Technology. We'll immediately cut off all contact. Exactly, we won't work with infringing companies at all. Ms. Jiang will issue internal notices now to fully prohibit any business dealings with StarPath. That day TSMC, SMIC, Samsung, UMC, and all the major global wafer foundries issued internal notices terminating all cooperation with StarPath Technology and refusing to provide any chip foundry services. Moreover, domestic packaging and testing companies and chip raw material suppliers also announced they would end all cooperation with StarPath Technology. Overnight, He-Shur and StarPath Technology were completely ostracized by the entire semiconductor industry chain. When the news reached He-Shur, he was negotiating with a foundry's representative. The person received a call from headquarters, immediately ended the talks, stood up and left without a word of explanation. He-Shur looked at the cooperation proposal in his hand and finally realized it had been orchestrated by me. He called me like a madman, switching through countless numbers until he finally got through. On the other end, his voice was hoarse, hysterical with rage. Jiang Yu. It was you, wasn't it? You made all the contractors refuse to work with me. You bitch, are you trying to destroy me completely? I held the phone, leaned against the hotel floor-to-ceiling window, my tone calm with a hint of mockery. President don't make reckless accusations. Those contractors are legitimate companies. They refuse to provide services to an infringing company. What does that have to do with me? Don't play dumb, He-Shur shouted. If you hadn't tipped them off, would they have treated me like this? Jiang Yu, how have I wronged you? 9 years of love, are you trying to drive me to ruin? I laughed, a laugh full of scorn. He-Shur, you ask how you've wronged me. From the moment you took Mo Wanna's hand at the press conference, from the moment you stole my patent and tried to push me out, you should have expected this end. You betrayed me first, you tried to drive me to ruin first. Now I'm just returning the favor in kind. I paused, my voice icy. When you were trying to finish me off, didn't you ever think you'd end up like this? He-Shur, this is what you deserve. After speaking, I hung up and blocked his number. On the other end, He-Shur, hearing the busy signal, flew into a rage, smashed his phone violently against the wall, spat blood, and fainted. Those around him rushed him to the hospital. Meanwhile, Xingtu Technology had completely fallen into a no chips available crisis. No foundry was willing to manufacture chips for them, no suppliers would provide raw materials, and all new product development stalled. Xingtu's phone and smart car factories shut down due to lack of core chips. Production lines were halted. Offline stores had no new products. Older models were boycotted by consumers for infringement. Sales dropped to zero, and stores closed one after another. Dealers came demanding refunds of deposits and compensation for losses. Banks demanded early loan repayment or threatened to apply for bankruptcy liquidation in court. Xingtu Technology was pushed to the brink of bankruptcy. Lin Shi read online news about Xingtu's shutdowns and smiled. Yu Jie, He-Shur is truly cornered this time. The whole supply chain has blacklisted him. He's completely out of chips. I smiled and looked at the 2nm chip tape-out test report from Yushin Technology on the computer. The data was perfect, exceeding our expectations. That's not enough. He did more shady things. I'm going to expose all his cards and make sure he never recovers. No sooner had I spoken than my phone buzzed, an email from an unknown number. The sender was Li Bin, former CFO of Xingtu Technology. The email read, Director Jiang, I have complete evidence that He-Shur committed financial fraud and misappropriated funds raised by the listed company. I know you and he are enemies. I want to hand this evidence to you. He destroyed my life. I want him to pay. My eyes lit up. He-Shur, your end is really coming. I immediately replied to the sender of the email, Li Bin, and arranged to meet him at a private club in Shanghai. Li Bin was the former chief financial officer of Xingtu Technology. He had worked with He Shi for 7 years and handled all the financial work for Xingtu Technologies IPO by himself half a month ago. Because he refused to help He Shi cook the books, He Shi fired him on the spot, seized all his shares and year-end bonus, and had him blacklisted across the industry so he couldn't find any job. He hated He Shi with a passion. That afternoon I met Li Bin in the private club. He looked haggard, half his hair gone white. When he saw me enter, he immediately stood up and spoke. Mr. Jiang, hello. I nodded and sat across from him. Director Li, you say you have complete evidence of He Shi's financial fraud and embezzlement? Yes. Li Bin nodded, took an encrypted USB drive from his bag, set it on the table and pushed it toward me. Inside this is Xingtu Technologies' complete internal accounts for the past 3 years and all the evidence of He Shi's financial fraud, inflated revenues, fabricated orders, and embezzlement of the company's IPO funds, every transaction clear as day. He looked at me with deep hatred in his eyes. To prop up the company's stock price, He Shi started falsifying the accounts 3 years ago, inflating revenue by over 10 billion yuan, fabricating hundreds of false orders, cheating investors, and borrowing from banks under false pretenses. Now the company is in crisis and he directly misappropriated 2.4 billion yuan of the funds raised from the IPO to cover the company's losses and to buy a luxury home and expensive goods for Mo Wanna. When I refused to help him cook the books, he fired me, seized all my money and blacklisted me in the industry. My wife divorced me. My family is ruined. It's all He Shi's doing. I want him to pay. I want him to rot in prison. I picked up the USB drive and held it in my hand. With this evidence, He Shi would be finished. Not only would the company go bankrupt and be delisted, he himself would face prison. I looked at Li Bin and said, "Thank you for handing this evidence to me. Don't worry, I will make He Shi pay the price he deserves." Li Bin looked at me, nodded and stood up. "President Jiang, I've handed you the evidence. I have to go. People from He Shi have been looking for me. I can't stay here long. I hope you'll follow through and make that bastard He Shi get the punishment he deserves." After speaking, he turned and strode out of the club, quickly disappearing. I took the USB drive back to the hotel and plugged it into my computer. Inside were indeed the complete proofs of He Shi's financial fraud and embezzlement. Bank statements, fake contracts, comparison tables of internal and external ledgers, and an approval form for embezzlement signed by He Shi. Irrefutable evidence. I made several backups of all the evidence, one copy to my lawyer, one sent anonymously to the CSRC and the stock exchange, and one I kept to release at Xingtu Technologies' annual shareholders meeting. 3 days later, Xingtu Technologies' annual shareholders meeting was held in a 5-star hotel's banquet hall in Shanghai. He Shijian wanted to use this shareholders meeting to placate the shareholders, steady them, buy time and find new investment. Otherwise the company would have to go bankrupt and be liquidated. Hundreds of shareholders showed up at the meeting, along with many financial reporters. He Shijian stood on the stage with a microphone, delivering a passionate speech about the company's future development plan, promising to turn a profit within a year and give shareholders generous returns. The shareholders in the audience all looked grim. After all, the company's stock had already fallen 90% and they had nearly lost all their money. Just as He Shijian was getting most animated, promising dividends to the shareholders, every shareholder's phone in the room vibrated at the same time. Each person had received an anonymous text message with a link attached. Inside was a complete evidence package showing He Shijian's financial fraud and embezzlement. In an instant, the whole banquet hall erupted. The shareholders stared at the evidence on their phones, faces going pale, and immediately blew up. What financial fraud? Inflated revenue by tens of billions. He swindled our money. He actually embezzled 2.4 billion of the raised funds. Bought that woman a luxury house. Our hard-earned money was squandered like that. He's been lying to us all along. That turning a profit promise was all a pipe dream. Our money is almost gone. Someone shouted first. He Shijian, you liar, give us our money back. Suddenly all the shareholders swarmed him, surrounding He Shijian and demanding an explanation and compensation for their losses. The scene turned chaotic. Reporters snapped photos like crazy, flashes going off non-stop. He Shijian stood in the crowd, face ashen, trembling, unable to utter a word. His bodyguards tried to get him out, But the enraged shareholders were too many and there was no way through. At that moment the banquet hall doors were pushed open. Inspectors from the China Securities Regulatory Commission and officers from the Economic Investigation Unit marched in, went straight to the stage, and produced a notice of case filing and a summons. He Shijian, we received a tip-off that you are suspected of fraudulent issuance of shares, irregular disclosure of material information, and embezzlement. We are summoning you for investigation. Please come with us, they said. He Shijian looked at the summons in the officer's hands, his legs gave out and he collapsed to the floor. The police put handcuffs on him and led him out of the banquet hall. That afternoon the CSRC issued an announcement formally filing a case to investigate Xingtu Technology for suspected fraudulent issuance and financial fraud. The stock exchange also issued a delisting risk warning for Xingtu Technology and suspended trading. Before the suspension, Xingtu Technology's share price had already fallen to just a few cents. Market value had plunged from a peak of hundreds of billions to less than 1 billion. It had completely collapsed when the news reached Singapore. Everyone on my team in the office cheered. Lin, she exclaimed excitedly. Sister Yu, He Shijian was taken away. Xingtu Technology is finished. That feels so good. I smiled, about to speak, when my phone rang. It was the head of security in Singapore, MS Jiang. Bad news. Two strangers just infiltrated our R&D center trying to steal core technical documents. Our security found them and they've been detained. We've already called the police. My expression went ice cold. No doubt it was He Shijian. Even after being arrested, he still hadn't given up and had sent people to steal my technology. I said immediately, guard the detainees, protect the R&D documents. I'm coming now. After hanging up, I took Lin Shi and rushed to the R&D center. When we arrived the police were already there. The two intruding men were pinned to the ground with hard drives in their hands, containing about half of the copied technical materials. Under police interrogation the two men quickly confessed. Before He Shi was taken away by the police, he had paid them to come. His purpose was to steal the core technical data of Yushin Technology's 2nm chip and to destroy the research center's equipment, framing me so that I would be ruined. I handed all the interrogation records and the on-site surveillance videos to the police. Another piece of evidence was added to He Shi's crimes. He would face not only penalties for economic crimes but also criminal charges for infringing trade secrets and deliberately destroying property. Lin Shi read the interrogation record, furious. That lunatic He Shi, it's come to this and he still wants to drag you down with him. Truly insane. I stared out the window, my eyes cooling. He Shi, the more you struggle, the more you prove you're afraid. Rest assured, I'll make you pay the most painful price for everything you've done. And your final trump card, your white moonlight Moana, will soon deliver your last fatal blow. After He Shi was taken by the police, he was granted bail pending trial. After he was released, instead of thinking about how to resolve the company's crisis, he immediately sought out Moana. Abandoned by all, she was the only person left by his side. He believed she was the only one who truly cared for him, his only light in the darkness. He was not only unaware that Moana had previously taken 230 million in cash from him, he even entrusted her with the company's last remaining working capital and the money in his personal accounts. Trusting her completely, he even promised Moana that once the company got through the crisis he would marry her and give her a grand wedding. What he did not know was that I had long since uncovered Moana's true identity and obtained all the evidence. My private detective tracked her from the mainland to Hong Kong and finally uncovered all of Moana's background. That afternoon the detective sent me all the evidence. I looked at the documents in my hand and smiled. The first major plot twist had finally arrived. Moana was not a fresh college graduate, nor did she genuinely love He Shi. She was the niece of Mo Zhenxiong, chairman of Dingsheng Technology, He Shi's mortal enemy. Dingsheng Technology is Xingtu Technology's biggest competitor in the smart car field and had been at odds with Xingtu Technology for many years. Moana's joining Xingtu Technology as He Shi's assistant had been a conspiracy from the start. She was a corporate spy sent by Dingsheng Technology with the purpose of stealing Xingtu Technology's core commercial secrets and ruining the company. She not only secretly copied all of Xingtu Technology's technical files, client information, and financial data and sent everything to Dingsheng Technology, She also took advantage of Heisha's trust to quietly transfer 230 million yuan from his personal accounts and recorded all of his illegal and non-compliant actions, including every detail of his financial fraud and embezzlement. The white moonlight he thought he had was actually a venomous snake out for blood. I looked at the evidence in my hands. The chat records between Mo Wana and Mo Zhenxiong, the transfer statements, the confidential documents she sent to Dingsheng Technology, and the illegal recordings she made of Heisha, an intact chain of evidence, crystal clear. I smiled, anonymously sent this evidence to his private email, and at the same time forwarded it to all the mainstream financial media in the country. I wanted to see how he would react when he learned the truth. Sure enough, less than half an hour after the emails went out, the internet exploded. Major financial media simultaneously published reports exposing Mo Wana's role as a corporate spy and all the collusion evidence between her and Dingsheng Technology. The three tags #MoWana corporate spy #Xingtu technology trade secret leak #Heisha got played instantly surged to the top of the trending list. The whole internet was mocking Heisha for a corporate spy. He had driven his fiancée out, ruined his company, and ended up with neither money nor status, becoming a laughingstock across the industry. At that moment Heisha was at home discussing fleeing with Mo Wana. When he saw the news online and the evidence I had sent him, he went completely numb. He held his phone, looked at the chat records between Mo Wana and Mo Zhenxiong in the evidence, at the bank statements showing her transfers of his funds, and listened to the recordings of his illegal acts. His blood ran cold. He suddenly jerked his head up and looked at Mo Wana beside him, his eyes so red they seemed about to bleed. All of this is true. You're Mo Zhenxiong's niece. You got close to me to steal my business secrets. Mo Wana, seeing that the truth was out, stopped pretending. She put away her previous coquettish act and looked at Heisha with a cold sneer. So what if I am Heisha? You don't really think I like you, do you? Look at yourself. Your company's on the brink of bankruptcy. You're about to go to jail. What could I possibly want from you? Your age that you don't bathe. From the very beginning I was sent by my uncle. The goal was to destroy your Starpath technology. Now my mission is complete. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, I've already transferred the remaining 50 million in your account. You don't have a cent left now. Heisha looked at her, trembling with rage, and suddenly raised his hand to strike. Mo Wana stepped aside and watched him, her eyes full of derision. What, want to hit me? Heisha, you're a beaten dog now. What right do you have to hit me? You'd better start thinking about how many years you're going to spend in prison. After speaking, she picked up her suitcase and walked away without looking back, leaving the villa and heading straight to the airport. She flew abroad and vanished without a trace. Heisha stood in the empty villa, staring at the mess on the floor, and finally broke down. He crouched on the ground and sobbed uncontrollably. For Mo Wana, he had abandoned me after 9 years of engagement, ruined his company, lost his entire fortune, and in the end discovered that from start to finish he had only been a pawn being toyed with. Not only had he lost both people and money, but because of the recordings Mo Wana had made, the police were given complete, solid evidence of his criminal wrongdoing. That night the police issued another announcement. Based on the new evidence, they officially opened an investigation into Heisha on suspicion of fraudulent issuance of stocks and embezzlement, confiscated all his passports and prohibited him from leaving the country. Heisha's bail was revoked and he was again placed under criminal detention and sent to the detention center. Xingtu Technology, having had its core business secrets completely leaked, lost its last chance to turn things around and entered bankruptcy and liquidation. When the news reached Singapore, everyone in my office cheered. Lin Shi smiled and said, "Sister Yu, Heisha has totally collapsed." Mo Wana's strike went straight to his heart. It's so satisfying. He never expected that the white moonlight he'd treasured in his palm would come to take his life. I smiled and looked at the computer. Yushin Technology's 2nm chip had completed tape-out testing, all performance metrics met, and it was about to enter mass production. This is all what he deserves. You reap what you sow. I paused, looked at Lin Shi and said, "Send the notice, prepare the company's listing materials. We're going to list on Nasdaq." Lin Shi's eyes lit up instantly. "Yes, Sister Yu, we'll get started right away." I leaned back in my office chair, staring at the seascape outside the window, my gaze firm. Heisha, everything you once took pride in, I will surpass one by one. The contempt you once showed me, I will stand at a height you can never reach. On the Nasdaq Bell stage, I will make you watch with your own eyes as I possess everything you lost, and you will only be able to spend the rest of your life in the detention center, watching my light while drowning in endless remorse. 3 months later, my Yushin Technology formally submitted an IPO application to the Nasdaq stock market in the United States. Hisha's Xingtou Technology also met its final fate. The stock exchange issued an official announcement that Xingtou Technology was forcibly delisted for financial fraud and major information disclosure violations. The once trillion-yuan market cap listed company ultimately exited the capital market with a market value of less than 500 million. Countless retail investors and shareholders lost everything and filed lawsuits in court demanding compensation from Hisha. Hisha was held in the detention center facing multiple criminal charges and had reached the end of the road. As for me, I entered the highlight of my life. Yushin Technology's IPO application was approved by Nasdaq, and the listing date was set. On the day of the IPO, it just so happened to be the day Starpath Technology held its delisting press conference. I specifically chose this day to let Hisha see exactly what he had lost. On the day of the listing, the Nasdaq Stock Exchange in New York was ours. Top global investment firms, financial media, and Temasek's entire team were present. Lu Zhayan stood beside me, accompanying me to witness the moment. I wore a red suit and stood on the bell podium, looking at everyone below and the countless live cameras, taking a deep breath. Major domestic platforms also streamed the bell ringing ceremony live, with tens of millions of netizens watching online. At 9:30 the US market opened. I took the gavel and rang the Nasdaq opening bell. The instant the bell rang, Yushin Technologies' opening price flashed on the screen. The issue price was $18. And the opening price shot up to $45, a rise of over 150%, pushing market value past $20 billion, about yuan 140 billion. The venue erupted into thunderous applause. Everyone cheered for me. I became the world's youngest female chair of a listed semiconductor company and the highest valued female founder from China in the semiconductor industry to list overseas. After the bell ceremony, I took questions from the global press while domestic live streams continued. A reporter from home holding a microphone asked, "Ms. Jiang, hello. We all know that 6 months ago you suffered a betrayal in your personal life and a major setback in your career. Yet in just half a year you stood back up and led your company to a successful listing. Is there anything you'd like to say to the viewers watching?" I held the microphone, looked at the camera, smiled and began. "I want to tell all the women out there, never pin your life on anyone else. What others give you can be taken away at any time. Only the skills in your own hands, your own abilities will always belong to you. Don't be afraid of loss. You have to lose the wrong person to welcome the right life." The reporter asked again, "Ms. Jiang, your former fiancé Hisha's company Xingtou Technology was forcibly delisted today. Do you have anything you want to say to him?" I looked into the lens, my expression calm but with tremendous force, and I delivered the second major plot twist. "In fact, there's one thing I've never told outsiders. Hisha's Xingtou Technology didn't get its start from his own abilities, it was from the inheritance my father left me." The room fell silent instantly, and the viewers in the live stream held their breath. I continued, speaking to the camera word by word. "Hisha was my father's student. My father was Professor Su Zhenbang, a leading authority in China's semiconductor industry. Many people should have heard his name. 10 years ago my father died unexpectedly, leaving me an inheritance of 5 million and the fruit of his lifetime of semiconductor research. The seed money Hisha used to start his company was that 5 million. The first orders, the first financing, he got them all because of my father's connections and resources. The core technology that allowed Xingtou Technology to grow from a small studio into a listed company was all developed by me. He rode on my father's inheritance, on my technology, on my 9 years of youth and hard work to get where he is today. In the end, for the sake of a corporate spy, he kicked me aside and even tried to ruin my life." I smiled, looked into the camera, my tone edged with a trace of scorn. "Hisha, you once said that without you I would be nothing. Now look, I'm standing on the Nasdaq Bell podium with a market value in the hundreds of billions. And your company is delisted, your reputation ruined, and you're about to go to prison. Tell me, who is it that would be nothing without whom? No sooner had I finished than the room erupted into warm applause again. The domestic livestream exploded, comments flew so fast the servers nearly crashed. Oh my god, what a shocking twist. Everything about Hisha came from MS Jiang's father. He's such an ungrateful scumbag. I'm crying. MS Jiang has had it so hard. She used her father's inheritance to help her fiancé start a business and got betrayed. Thank goodness she herself rose up and reached an even higher place. Hisha's face should be beaten to a pulp. He lived off a woman and then bit the hand that fed him, a total piece of work. This is a real female lead betrayed by a scumbag. She didn't fall. She took the company public and slapped him hard in the face. So fierce. Meanwhile in Shanghai, at the press conference for Xingtu Technologies delisting, only Hisha's lawyer and a few remaining staff were present. The scene was pitifully bleak. The big screen at the press conference was simultaneously live streaming my Nasdaq interview. Hisha's lawyer and the staff watched me on the screen and heard the truth I spoke. Each of them was stunned. Hisha, who was held in a detention center, had his lawyer stream it to him. Seeing me standing radiantly on the Nasdaq Bell podium and hearing the truth and my accusations, he completely lost it, clutched his chest, fainted on the spot, and was urgently taken to the hospital by detention center guards. The whole internet mocked him, calling him the year's most miserable scumbag. He stole everything from his fiancée and ended up in prison, while his fiancée became the chairwoman of a company worth hundreds of billions. The difference between people was greater than the difference between people and dogs. That day, the three trending topics #Jiangyu Nasdaq listing, #Xingtu Technology delisting, #the fate of the mooch dominated the hot search list, occupying the top 3 spots for an entire day. My Nasdaq interview video also spread across the whole internet. Countless netizens were moved by my story, calling me the light of domestic chips and a role model for independent women. After the interview, Lu Zian walked up to me and handed me a glass of champagne, looking at me with admiration and tenderness in his eyes. Congratulations, President Jiang, you did it. I took the champagne, clinked glasses with him and smiled. Thank you, President Lu. Without Temasek's support, I wouldn't have gone this smoothly. He looked at me and smiled. No need to thank me. You were excellent and strong enough on your own. I only did what I should have done. He paused, looked at me and spoke seriously. Jiang, now that you've achieved your goal and punished those who deserve it, could you give me a chance to accompany you on the road ahead? I looked at the gentleness in his eyes and felt a warmth in my heart, nodding with a smile. Over the past 6 months, he had stayed quietly by my side, supporting me, protecting me, solving countless problems for me, never crossing any lines and always respecting all my decisions. In my heart, there was already a place for him. That evening I held a listing celebration. In New York, global investment institutions and industry partners all came to celebrate with me. Standing in the banquet hall, watching Lu Zian by my side and the team that had accompanied me all the way, I felt utterly resolute. The darkness of the past was completely over. The future held limitless brightness waiting for me. As for Hisha, his life had completely fallen into darkness with no chance of recovery. After returning to Singapore from the United States, Yushin Technologies Development entered the fast lane. Our 2nm chips officially entered mass production and secured huge orders from multiple domestic smartphone manufacturers and smart car companies, breaking foreign companies' monopoly in the high-end chip field and becoming a new global giant in the semiconductor industry. I was also invited back to the country to attend the National Science and Technology Awards ceremony, where I was awarded the first-class National Science and Technology Progress Award, becoming the youngest female recipient of that honor. Meanwhile, on the other side, Hisha's case entered the review and prosecution stage. He was held in a detention center facing multiple criminal charges, each crime sufficient to keep him behind bars for a very long time, but he still wouldn't give up and continued to make a last-ditch effort to drag me down with him. While in detention, he bribed people inside, contacted outside lawyers, forged large amounts of evidence and reported to the CSRC and the police, claiming that Yushin Technologies listing documents involved financial fraud and insider trading. and that the 2 nanometers chip technology one held was stolen from Xingtu Technologies' RAND results. He hoped that by such despicable means he could cause my company's listing to fail and ruin my reputation so that I would fall into hell with him. After the CSRC received the report, it immediately launched a compliance investigation into Yushin Technologies' listing. Once the news broke, numerous rhythm-setting marketing accounts appeared online spreading rumors that I had committed financial fraud and stolen technology, and the stock price experienced short-term fluctuations. Lin Shi stared at the online rumors furious. You dare, he sure that madman, to go this far and still try to turn it back on you, he's shameless. I looked at the fabricated complaint materials he sure had made and smiled calmly, not the least bit flustered. He thinks that with forged evidence he can drag me down. How naive. All of Yushin Technologies' IPO documents were audited by the Big Four accounting firms worldwide, fully compliant and legal, with no issues. His forged evidence will only end up backfiring. I immediately had the company's legal team compile the full audit reports, listing compliance documents, and the complete RAND records for our technical patents and submitted them to the securities regulator and the police to prove that his complaint was entirely fabricated and amounted to malicious false accusation. After a detailed investigation, the securities regulator quickly issued a statement confirming that Yushin Technologies' listing materials were fully compliant and that there was no financial fraud or insider trading. Dismissing all of his allegations at the same time, the police also issued a notice that he had forged evidence and maliciously framed others. He was suspected of the crime of false accusation and was placed under investigation with an additional charge added. He's final struggle not only failed to drag me down, but instead added another charge to himself, making his crime that much worse. He was utterly desperate, but he did not know that an even greater shock awaited him. Just then my father's former assistant Uncle Zhong came to find me. Uncle Zhong had worked with my father for over a decade and was the person my father trusted most. After my father's death he left the industry and returned to his hometown. This time he had specially flown from his hometown to Singapore to find me. His face was grave as he said there was something very important he had to tell me in person. I met Uncle Zhong in my office. He looked at me with reddened eyes and said, "Xiaoye, it's been 10 years. Uncle is sorry to you, sorry to your father. There is something I have hidden from you for 10 years. And today I must tell you." My heart sank sharply. "Uncle Zhong, what is it?" Uncle Zhong took an old dashcam and the hospital's resuscitation records from his bag and placed them in front of me. "Your father's death back then was not an accident at all." My mind went buzzing and blank. The third dramatic twist struck with a thunderous impact. Uncle Zhong looked at me, his voice trembling, and told me the whole truth from that year. 10 years ago my father, Su Zhenbang, was driving to attend an industry summit when he suffered a sudden heart attack. At that time, Heisha was sitting in the front passenger seat. He was my father's student and had gone to the conference with him that day. After my father had the heart attack, he was still conscious and told Heisha to call emergency services right away, but instead of calling, Heisha grabbed my father's phone, threw it into the back seat, and locked the car doors. He sat in the car watching my father struggle in pain for a full 40 minutes, until my father completely lost consciousness and stopped breathing. Only then did he call for help. At the hospital, he told the doctors and the police that when he found him, my father had already stopped breathing and had died of an accidental heart attack. He deliberately wasted those crucial 40 minutes to wait for my father to die, because he knew my father had discovered him secretly transferring company assets and stealing my father's research, and was going to report him to the police. Afraid the matter would be exposed, he watched my father die in the car, missing the best chance to save him. Not only that, after my father's death he secretly took all the semiconductor research and client resources from my father's computer and, using those, founded Xingtu Technology. Uncle Zhong played the recording from the dashcam for me. It clearly captured my father's painful cries for help, someone urging Heisha to call an ambulance, and Heisha's cold voice, "Teacher, don't blame me, you shouldn't have discovered what you discovered, and you called the police on me. If you die, your research, your connections, and your daughter will all be mine." In the recording, my father's breathing grew weaker and weaker until it stopped completely. I sat in the chair, Listening to the recording, my blood running cold, my nails digging deep into my palms until they bled. So my father's death wasn't an accident at all. It was Hisha who indirectly caused my father's death. I had been engaged to my father's killer for 9 years, spent 9 years with him, helped him start a company, and helped raise him to a market value of 100 billion. How absurd, how ironic. Uncle Jong looked at me, his eyes red, and said, "Xiaoye, I'm sorry, back then I discovered the dashcam recording, but Hisha threatened me, saying that if I spoke out he'd make sure my family and I wouldn't survive. I was afraid, so I took my family back to our hometown and hid for 10 years. Now that Hisha is finally getting his comeuppance, I can't keep hiding it any longer. I have to tell you the truth so your father's name can be cleared." I took a deep breath, suppressed the overwhelming hatred in my heart, looked at Uncle Jong and said, "Uncle Jong, thank you for telling me the truth, and thank you for preserving the evidence to help my father." I picked up the dashcam and the hospital records from the table, my hands trembling uncontrollably. "Hisha, not only did you betray me and steal everything from me, you also killed my father. I had been with my father's killer for 9 years. This blood debt must be paid by you with blood." That same day, I flew back to the country with all the evidence and filed a report with the police. After receiving the report, the police immediately opened a case investigating Hisha on suspicion of intentional homicide. After a detailed investigation, the audio from the dashcam proved authentic and, combined with the hospital records from back then and witness statements, the chain of evidence was complete and closed. Hisha was suspected of indirect intentional homicide and the evidence was conclusive. When the news reached the detention center, Hisha completely collapsed. He never expected that what happened 10 years ago would be unearthed. His mother, in an attempt to help him escape guilt, took the forged passport he had made and tried to smuggle the incriminating evidence out of the country to go abroad. As a result, he was caught on the spot at the border port by the police, suspected of harboring criminals and illegally crossing the border, and was taken into criminal detention. Hisha's last sliver of hope was completely shattered. All his relatives suffered legal sanctions because of him. He was abandoned by everyone, disgraced and burdened with the grave crime of intentional homicide. Awaiting him would be the harshest punishment under the law. Lin Shi looked at me with pity and said, "Sister Yu, I never expected Hisha to be so heartless and insane, even harming Professor Su." Fortunately, now that the truth is out, Professor Su's wrongful case can finally be cleared. I stared out the window and finally couldn't hold back my tears. They fell. "Father, can you see? The person who harmed you is finally getting the punishment he deserves. Your daughter has finally avenged you." 6 months later, the Municipal Intermediate People's Court held a public hearing on Hisha's case. Many media reporters and concerned citizens attended, and the spectator seats were packed in court. The prosecution presented all the evidence of Hisha's crimes, including intentional homicide, stock fraud, embezzlement, false accusation and framing, and infringement of trade secrets. For each charge there was a complete chain of evidence. Ironclad Uncle Jong also appeared to testify, recounting the entire truth from those years. The audio from the dashcam was played in court, provoking an uproar in the courtroom. Hisha sat in the defendant's chair, his face ashen, unable to utter a word. After 3 days of trial, the court delivered its verdict in open session. Defendant Hisha, convicted of intentional homicide committed indirectly, is sentenced to life imprisonment and deprived of political rights for life. Convicted of fraudulent issuance of stocks, sentenced to 8 years fixed-term imprisonment and fined 50 million yuan. Convicted of embezzlement, sentenced to 7 years fixed-term imprisonment. Convicted of false accusation and framing, sentenced to 3 years fixed-term imprisonment. Convicted of infringement of trade secrets, sentenced to 5 years fixed-term imprisonment. Sentences for multiple crimes are to be served consecutively, resulting in execution of life imprisonment, lifelong deprivation of political rights, and confiscation of all personal property. When the gavel fell and the trial ended, Hisha slumped in the defendant's seat, his gaze vacant, completely stripped of every trace of vitality. His life was irrevocably fixed to life imprisonment. He would spend the rest of his life in prison. The other persons involved in the case, including Hisha's mother Mo Zhenxiong and Mo Wana, also received the legal punishments they deserved. each being sentenced to corresponding fixed-term imprisonments, my father's wrongful case was finally completely vindicated. The court also issued a public announcement restoring my father Su Zhenbang's reputation and returned to me all the assets and research that he had illegally seized back then. On the day the trial ended, I stood at the courthouse entrance, looking up at the sky as sunlight fell on my face, warm and comforting. 9 years of grievances, 10 years of bloody hatred, it had finally come to an end. Those who harmed my father and those who betrayed me received the punishment they deserved. I could finally let go of the past and welcome a new life. Lu Ziyan stood beside me, reached out and took my hand and said gently, "It's all over, let's go home." I looked at him and nodded with a smile. Over the past year I experienced betrayal and hurt, but also growth and rebirth. My company, Yushin Technologies, has become a leading enterprise in the global semiconductor industry. Our 2nm chips achieved full-scale production, breaking foreign technological monopolies and making a huge contribution to China's semiconductor sector. I donated most of the estate my father left me to establish the Su Zhenbang Semiconductor Research Foundation, dedicated to funding domestic semiconductor chip R&D and cultivating young scientific talent. I also set up the country's largest chip research center in Shanghai, attracting top chip researchers from around the world. That autumn, the groundbreaking ceremony for Yushin Technologies' global headquarters was officially held in Zhongjiang Science City, Shanghai. As chairman, I spoke at the ceremony, standing on the stage, looking at everyone below and at the construction site before me. I took a deep breath and began to speak. 10 years ago, my father, right here, set down a dream to take Chinese chips to the world. 10 years later, I stand here to continue fulfilling the dream he left unfinished. I will devote my life to deepening chip R&D, breaking foreign technological monopolies and letting China's chips go global, reach the pinnacle of the world. Thunderous applause rose from the audience and lasted for a very long time. The groundbreaking ceremony concluded successfully and the whole internet was praising me, calling me the light of China's chips. After the ceremony, I received a phone call from the prison. Ms. Jiangyu, hello, I am a guard from prison No. 1. The inmate he has repeatedly requested to see you in prison. He says he has something very important and wants to confess to you in person. He also said he has something related to your father he wants to hand to you personally. Would you be willing to see him? I was silent for a few seconds before I spoke. All right, I'll go tomorrow. After I hung up, Lu Ziyan looked at me and said, "I'll go with you." I shook my head and smiled. "No need, I'll go alone, some things I need to settle myself." The next day I went to prison No. 1 with a lawyer in the visiting room separated by thick glass. I saw in just 1 year, he had completely changed. His hair was all white, he had wasted away. Wearing a prison uniform, his eyes clouded, his face full of wrinkles, no trace of the confident man he once was, just a haggard middle-aged man. When he saw me enter, he suddenly raised his head, his eyes brightened for a moment. He slammed himself against the glass, looked at me, his lips trembling. "Xiaoyu, you finally agreed to see me." I sat in the chair watching him, my tone calm, without the slightest ripple. "Weren't you going to give me something of my father's? What is it?" He looked at me, tears falling, his voice choking. "Xiaoyu, I know I was wrong, I really know I was wrong. Back then I was possessed, I wronged you, I wronged Teacher Su, I regret it, I truly regret it." He suddenly dropped to his knees, pressing himself against the glass, crying so hard it tore his heart. "Xiaoyu, I beg you, forgive me, will you? I know I've committed great crimes, I'm not human, I beg you, issue a letter of forgiveness for me. Plead for leniency, help reduce my sentence, please. I don't want to spend my life in prison. I'm only in my 30s, I don't want it to end like this." I watched him kneel and sob and felt nothing, no shock, not even sympathy. I even found it a little ridiculous back then when he watched my father die in pain with his eyes open. Why didn't he think there would be a day like this? Back then, at the press conference when he held Mo Wanna's hand and trampled on my 9 years of effort, why didn't he think he would regret it back then? When he orchestrated my blacklisting by the entire industry to ruin my life, why didn't he think today would come? I looked at him, smiled, took out my phone and pressed play. From the phone came the words he had said to me at that product launch years ago. "She's only an assistant, it's only a ring, is that necessary? 9 years you've waited. And you can't endure this bit, Jiangyu, don't make a fool of yourself. When the recording finished, I put my phone away and looked at him, speaking each word clearly. He sure, over 9 years I gave you countless chances, you, yourself, gave them up again and again. He knelt there, looking at me, his eyes filled with despair. Xiaoyu, I really know I was wrong, I truly loved you back then, really, please give me one more chance. You loved me. I laughed, a laugh full of bitter irony. He sure, your love killed my father, stole his research, betrayed me and kicked me aside, and when I had nowhere to turn you blacklisted me across the industry to try to destroy my life. Your love is so cheap, I don't deserve it and I don't want it. I stood up, looked at him, my gaze icy. You want me to forgive you, fine, when my father comes back to life, when the 9 years of my youth that you destroyed are given back to me and I can start over, then I'll forgive you. Oh, by the way, I paused, looked at him and added with a smile, you said there was something of my father's you wanted to return to me. I suppose it's this. I took from my bag the research notebook my father had kept and set it on the glass between us. This notebook is what you stole from my father's office all those years ago. It contains his life's work in research. I've recovered it, and its contents have become the core technology of Yushin Technology. Oh, and remember how you used the contents to found Xingtu Technology, only to end up in prison. Isn't that ironic? He turned ashen in an instant, collapsing to the floor. The light in his eyes was utterly extinguished. I looked at him and spoke each word clearly. He sure, you're too late to beg me. With that I turned and left the visitation room, never looking back. Behind me came his wrenching cries and desperate roars, but none of that concerned me anymore. Outside the prison, the sunlight warmed me. Lu Zian was leaning against the car waiting, holding a bouquet of white roses. When he saw me emerge, he smiled and opened his arms. I ran to him and threw myself into his embrace. Laughing with joy, he bent down and pressed a gentle kiss to my forehead, whispering, "It's all over, let's go home." I rested against him and nodded. The car drove off toward the city. I watched the scenery slip by the window, a smile on my lips. The past grievances had settled like dust. Those who harmed me had received their just deserts. My father's wrongful case had been cleared and my life was only beginning. In the future, I would lead my team to continue deepening chip research, fulfill my father's wish, and bring China's chips to the pinnacle of the world. I would live well with those around me and head toward the bright, radiant future that belongs to me. My life has never needed to depend on anyone. I myself am the light.